All right, we're going to take a few minutes to go over worksheet 5, finding slope from a graph. It seemed like you guys did pretty well with this yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but again, this is super, super important going into 8th grade math that we understand how to do this. So let's just get started. Remember, we've got 4 steps, 5 if you count simplifying the fraction. The first step being we start on the leftmost point. So I've got 2 points here on number 3. This point is my leftmost point. It's furthest to the left. So I'm going to start right here. Now I want to rise first. Remember, slope, or M, is rise over run. So I'm going to have some number that represents how many units I rise up or down over some number that represents the number of units I run to the right. So I want to rise first. I saw a lot of people going right first or starting over here and going left. It's going to completely flip you around and confuse you. So start at the leftmost point. You've got to rise. In this case, if we want to reach this second point, we need to rise up. And we're going to rise up 1, 2 spaces. That makes my numerator here 2. All right? Now from this point, this new point that I'm at, I can see that I'm going to run to the right. And if we've done this right, we've done the first 2 steps right, we should always be running to the right, never to the left. And we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces to the right. I have the fraction 2 over 7. I cannot simplify that at all because 2 and 7 are both prime numbers. So my slope here is 2 over 7. All right. And number 4 is a little bit different, but we're going to follow the same exact steps. Here's my 2 points. This one is furthest to the left, so I'm going to start here. And this time, if I'm rising, that means I'm either going up or down. And it looks like this time I've got to go down. And we'll count how many spaces down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces down. So my slope is going to be rise over run. It's a weird way to draw that equal sign. There it is, rise over run. And because we rose down 6, my numerator is going to be a negative number, negative 6. All right, if we're going down, if we're rising down, my numerator is negative. That's going to turn my fraction and my entire slope into a negative number. From this new point, I'm now again going to run to the right. See, if we follow the first 2 steps correctly, we're always running to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the right. That's going to be my denominator. Now, I've got an even number over an even number, 6 over 4. I can simplify this. 6 is 2 times 3. 4 is 2 times 2. I'm going to throw my negative sign in there just so I don't forget. I'm looking for numbers that are the same to cross out. I've got a pair of 2's that go away. And that leaves me with a slope of negative 3 over 2. Down to number 5. We're going to start on our leftmost point, which is down here. I see that I need to rise up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces up and 1, 2, 3 spaces over. So my rise over run is positive 6 over 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times, so my slope is positive 2. If we keep repeating this process over and over and over again, we're going to get really, really solid with this. You'll be in a good spot when you start 8th grade. Here's my leftmost point. I see I'm going to rise down now, so I know that's going to be negative. Rise over run equals negative something over my run. So I'm rising down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces down. And I'm running over 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right. Can't simplify that fraction either. So there's my slope, negative 8 over 3. Dropping down to number 7. My 2 points are really, really close together here, but this one's furthest to the left. I want to be very careful that I'm counting correctly, especially when they're really close. Looks like I'm going to be rising up just 1 space up, and I'm running over 2 spaces to the right. So my rise over run is 1 over 2. Number 8, here's my leftmost point. I'm going to rise down, going down 1, 2, 3 spaces down. From there, I'm going 1 space to the right. Because I rose down, my slope's going to be negative. Negative 3 over 1 just turns into negative 3. Right, if we've got a 1 on bottom, we don't need it there. We can get rid of it because 1 goes into 3 times. And a negative over a positive is, of course, a negative. All right. Quickly flipping over to the back here just so we can make sure all of our work is correct. Number 9, I'm going to start on the left. Here it is. I'm rising up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces up. I'm running over 1 to the right. So my rise over run is 5 over 1. Like we just said, if I've got a 1 in my denominator, I don't need it there. 5 is my answer. And we can see this is a very, very steep line. It's closer and closer to vertical, or it's getting closer and closer to vertical. That means we're going to have a large slope like 5. If you look back on the front, a line with a slope of something small like 2 over 7, right? This is a lot less than 1. It's a fraction. We see that line get a lot more flat, right? It's not as steep as a slope of 5. And you should always think of this kind of like that mountain versus hill analogy that we drew out yesterday, right? If we've got a steep line like this, we're going to have a large slope. If we've got a flatter line like we had in number 3, we're going to have a much smaller slope. Now this is a steep line as well, but because we're steeping, or I guess sloping downhill from left to right, this is going to result in a negative slope. Again, we start on the left. Here it is. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces down, and then 1 space to the right. Again, 4 is a relatively large number when it comes to slope, so we see that nice steep line. It is sloping the opposite direction. If we notice here in number 9, we're going up the hill, and then here in number 10, we're going down the hill. Right? So it's still a very steep slope. It's just negative because of the way that it is sloping downhill from left to right. Down to 11 and 12. 11, flat. We should expect a relatively small slope here, probably a fraction. Here's my leftmost point. I'm going to rise up 1, and then to the right 3. So 1 up, 3 to the right, giving me a slope of 1/3. And we were correct. This is a much flatter line than we saw previously, so we're going to have a much smaller slope, which is a fraction, 1/3. We know it's positive because from left to right, if I were to draw my little hiker here, they're hiking up this mountain from left to right. But over here on number 12, if we draw our little person on the left, it looks like they're hiking down this mountain from left to right. Right? Just like reading a book, you always want to think about this left to right. So here's my leftmost point. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to the right 1, 2, 3. Down 5 means negative 5. And I cannot simplify 5 over 3. So we leave it like that. Number 13, I've got a flat line here. This is going to be a really small slope, a fraction most likely. Here's my leftmost point. I'm going up 1 and right 5. 1 up, 5 right. Giving me a slope of 1 over 5. Very, very small slope. Very, very flat line. Number 14 is kind of in the middle. It's much steeper, of course, than number 13, but not as steep as number 9. So we can expect to see something kind of in the middle. Let's figure it out. Here's my leftmost point. I look like I'm going to go down, so let's do that. Down 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces down. And to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Interesting. Got to make sure our negative's on there because we went down. And 4 over 4 is a whole fraction. Anytime we have the same number on top and bottom, that gives me 1. So this is right in the middle. Okay, this is our kind of neutral steepness. Whenever we have a slope of 1, it's going to be nice and perfectly diagonal. Anything larger than 1 is going to get steeper and steeper, right? Like if this is our slope of 1, if it's larger than 1, it's going to get steeper and steeper. If it's smaller than 1, like a fraction, it's going to get flatter and flatter. That's something that you'll see throughout. Pretty flat line here. I'm going to go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces to the right. 2 is 2 times 1, 8 is 2 times 4. Cancel out my 2's, and there's that very small fractional slope of 1/4. And last but not least, number 16, I'm going to start on my left. I'm going down just 1 space. And then I'm going to the right 2 spaces. So my rise over run is going to be 1 down, 2 right. Because I went, can't even see it, sorry. Because I went down on my rise, it's going to be a -1. And of course, when I go to the right, that's positive. So that gives me 2. Nothing to simplify there, so we're all good.